Most altcoins are outperforming today, but Worldcoin is doing better than the rest. The question is why? Who's buying here? Who's selling here? Let's have a look at the on-chain data, the data most people aren't considering. Let's try to figure out whether or not it still makes sense to buy Worldcoin. Now here's the news that's behind the rally. There's a new quantum technology initiative. The AMPC, the Anonymized Multi-Party Computation Project. That's together with a university from Peru. And so the price went absolutely parabolic. What we see here is the Worldcoin price relative to the others market cap. So how did Worldcoin do relative to the rest of the altcoin market? We're looking at an outperformance of almost 40%. Now the long-term chart of Worldcoin doesn't look that great. Have a look at this. Long-term, Worldcoin did not do better than most other altcoins. And the reason for that long-term underperformance is tokenomics, as in how many tokens are floating around, how many tokens are in circulation. If the supply grows faster than the demand, then the price tends to do worse compared to the rest of the market. Worldcoin started with only 522 million tokens. That was a bit over 2 years ago. Now we are at close to 4 billion tokens. Now, I think it's very important to be as transparent as possible with one's positions. As in, when I make a video on a certain crypto project, I want to share, do I buy this token? Do I sell this token? What are potential conflicts of interest here? I personally have bet on falling prices of Worldcoin with this rally. Because again, I'm betting on the overall long-term trend here. Here's my position. I'm in with 400K US dollars. And it's not just the long-term price development of Worldcoin relative to the rest of the altcoins. It's also the trading range relative to Bitcoin that makes me wonder, is this really a sustainable price level? Yes, there is a chance we see another leg up. There is a chance that Worldcoin could rally another 30% relative to Bitcoin here. That's not necessarily implied by the relative valuation to all the other altcoins, but relative to Bitcoin, at least in the past, we have been at higher valuations. So we're either turning around now or potentially after a secondary pump. But really, I believe too many people ignore the tokenomics. Too many people don't really care how the supply is developing over time. But it does have a massive impact. Because have a look at the market cap of Worldcoin over time. It's actually close to an all-time high. It's currently at $2.4 billion. And the project started out with only 240 million. A 10x in market cap. But now have a look at how the price developed at the same time. At one point we were at $10. We crashed down to $1.20. We are very far away from the all-time high. The market cap is at all-time highs. The price is not. And that's simply because of the additional supply that has hit the market. What I find fascinating is that despite the long-term increasing supply over time, we do not see how the funding costs for betting on falling prices of Worldcoin are particularly low. As in, most of the time, the longs have to pay the shorts in order to get positive price exposure. Yes, occasionally there are the times where the shorts have to pay the longs, where it actually costs to bet on falling prices, but most of the time it costs money to bet on rising prices. Again, despite those very bad tokenomics and despite this very unattractive long-term chart. Let's have a look at the on-chain metrics. So there's two versions of the token. There's one on Ethereum. Here we've got 52,000 holders almost. And we've got another version with 1.3 million holders. So that's now on Optimism. This is where we got all of the free allocation. That's what people received when they scanned their irises. Now most capital is still on the Ethereum chain, and we can see the token inflation by the number of holders constantly increasing. On the left side we see the number of wallets that have at least 1,000 WLD tokens. Now currently the price is slightly above $1, so that's more than $1,000 worth of the token. In the middle it's 10,000 tokens at minimum holding. On the right it's 100,000 tokens at minimum. We can see that for all wallet cohorts, the number of wallets is going up. And I do not think that that's necessarily purchases. I think that's mainly allocations that got sent to participants of the ecosystem. Worldcoin now has its own chain, the World chain. And that did get some adoption over time. This is the total value locked in US dollars. And here we've got the total value locked in WLD. It seems like the growth has halted somewhat in the last 4 months. But in general, this trend looks quite healthy. The only problem is just the amount that's locked. So we are looking at 66 million US dollars. And again, compare that with the market cap of $2.4 billion US dollars. So only 2% of Worldcoin's market cap is actually locked in the world chain. The world chain itself can definitely not justify a valuation like this. Now, there are two major markets for price discovery in crypto. There is the spot trading that can happen directly on the chain, or it can happen on centralized exchanges. And there is the perpetual futures. So that's the bets on the price. So people can bet on rising or on falling prices with leverage. The trading costs tend to be lower with perpetual futures, but buying and holding long term tends to be more expensive with perpetual futures. And so short term, it's always interesting to see what's actually happening with trading. Now, in the last 24 hours, we only saw 152 million worth of trading volume on Binance, the centralized exchange Binance. Compare this with the perpetual futures. Here we had 661 million worth of trading volume. So much more trading on the perpetual futures. Many more people are betting with leverage on the price. And so there is some correlation between the amount of bets on the price and the spot market. As whenever there are more bets on WLD, the spot price tends to be high. For example, over here, whenever there is less bets, so the open interest is coming down, then the spot price tends to follow. And currently, we are historically rather high. We are not yet at the historical maximum, but we are definitely elevated. And when open interest comes down again, then the price should come with it. Again, I'm currently betting on falling prices. There might still be some room for a future increase in the price, because so far we aren't yet at the same kind of peak in terms of short liquidations that we have seen on the 22nd of this year. So we're not yet in an extremely unbalanced market. There could definitely still be some more purchases that liquidate the last shorts, and then we see the price deflation. It's very hard to time the top perfectly. But in general, when I look at a chart like this, WLD relative to the altcoins or WLD relative to Bitcoin, I'm not too bullish, at least over the next weeks and months. What happens today and tomorrow is up for debate. Now, wherever there are patterns in price movement, there's a potential opportunity. A lot of people say that it's just random, that there's only luck involved in trading and in active investing. But really, once we have repeatable patterns, it's not. So let's look at this fundamental pattern. This is Dogecoin as an example. Very often, we see prices shooting up extremely quickly to then deflate over a very, very long time afterwards. So for whatever reason, the price moving up happens much faster than the price moving down. We see this in Dogecoin. We also see this in Floki Ino, right? Just have a look at how quick this rally happened and then how long it took to deflate again. And it doesn't just happen with meme coins, right? This is XRP. It went up quickly to then subsequently deflate for a very long time. Or here, right? The rally happened just in a matter of a few days. A secondary rally happened, but then again, the deflation took a long, long time. So there is obviously some kind of pattern here. And this is across the entire crypto space. And there is a fundamental reason for that. I believe that reason is attention. People say that we live in an attention economy and that attention equals money. And for crypto, that's exactly the case as well. As there is more attention on an asset, the price tends to go up. Now, why does it go up much faster than it tends to go down? Because usually there's some kind of event that happens that brings all the attention on an asset. So people read the news and they wonder, should I buy TON now? Should I buy XRP now? Should I buy YZY? Whatever it is, right? There's always something going on, and attention means potential purchases. There's also influencers that talk potentially about small cryptocurrencies that then bring a lot of purchase orders with it, right? When thousands of people watch a certain video on a small altcoin, then of course this has some implication on the price. And so we've got this overall capital pool that tends to grow over time, right? Crypto is still a growing market, but within that capital pool, it tends to concentrate towards a few assets at different points in time. Once there is attention on an asset, the price goes up, but then if there's no new news, then the attention tends to fizzle down and tends to go to the other assets. So it's a bit of a game of whack-a-mole, right? There's asset A that gets pumped up, then it's asset B, etc. And so this is where most people lose, right? Most people try to find the needle in the haystack, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 altcoins that made the multiple X returns, while the vast majority tends to go down. How likely is it that when you're buying the next recommended altcoin, that's going to be the next KeyCat or the next Dog in Me or the next GP token? the likelihood is rather low. You're probably ending up rather with Coino or with Pepecoin or with the Apex token. If you're really honest with yourself, when you look at your altcoin trading and you compare that performance not to the US dollar, but relative to just the buying and holding Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana, how much did you actually outperform with the active trading? Very likely you underperformed. And again, this is because this is a rigged game. There are a few people that influence the market, that push up prices, and then over time those prices deflate again. I'm doing the exact opposite. I'm trying to find the tokens that got hyped, but where then that hype is dying down, where we're already in the deflation. And then I bet on relative valuations that those kind of assets continue to do worse than Bitcoin, Ethereum and Solana. So while the vast majority of retail investors, they just buy what the influencer has shilled, what the influencer is promoting, where the influencer potentially even got money to promote it, I do the exact opposite. I bet on falling prices at that time. So let's say Elon Musk tweets about Dogecoin again, Dogecoin pumps up, the retail investor gets in. That's when I put this on my watch list. And I'm looking at what point in time is it starting to deflate. And I bet on falling prices over here. Just have a look at what I shared on February 14th. I'm entering a Dogecoin relative to Bitcoin short position. Then 1 month later, I sold it. And that was because Dogecoin underperformed Bitcoin at that point by 32%. So that's what you want, right? You want underperformance when you bet on falling prices. There are a few details to this strategy, but it is a long-term winning approach. Just have a look at a few trades that our community has done. Now, I've actually opened a capital pool where the community members, the premium community members of this channel were able to pay in. This capital pool, unfortunately, has already been closed because we have hit our maximum deposit limit. We are still trading with this until end of the year. I will continue to share the performance here, but it just shows how constantly we can make money by doing the opposite of what most other people are doing. This is 1.5 months. The maximum drawdown from top to bottom was only 2.6%, and we are already at an annualized return of 78%. Before running this capital pool, I've done this approach myself on my own capital, and that's the return over the last 4 years. So this is just a chart from Excel. This is monthly data. Had I just dollar cost averaged into Bitcoin, I would have gotten the return here marked at this gray line. But because I also did shorts on very poorly performing altcoins, I got the return indicated here in black. And I know it can be a bit daunting at first, doing something completely different, going long one asset, going short another asset, doing an entirely different approach compared to just buying an altcoin, just following an influencer that promises you the next 10 or 100x. I know this is a different mindset, but again, we have to do the opposite of what most other people are doing. I created some tutorials to make this as easy as possible. If you want to keep it brief and you're busy, you just have to watch 2 videos. How to use perpetual futures on Hyperliquid and how to do risk management with relative valuation bets on Hyperliquid. It's only those 2 videos and they are in total just 1 hour in length roughly. After you have watched those 2 videos and you've joined the community, I will then send to you my favorite trade. Now that favorite relative valuation trade tends to go up quite consistently, and I've got a strong conviction that it will continue to do so. And because of that, if you enter that particular trade and you do not make money after 1 month of holding this trade, I will refund you 100%, no questions asked. I'll refund you for the premium membership. The monthly rate is currently $125 US. You can either pay via credit card, or if you want to pay in crypto, you can do that as well. For crypto payment though, the minimum duration is 3 months. But again, after 1 month, if you don't make money with that trade, I will just refund you. You can watch all the videos basically for free. And it's not just about the videos, it's also about the trades that I share in real time, where you can basically manually copy trade what's currently being done with the capital pool. Yes, the capital pool is currently closed, but if you join the annual membership, you will get the chance for early access to the next pool that will start at the beginning of next year. So if you don't want to invest the time, you instead just want to invest the capital, let this run for you. Then with the annual membership, you will get that offer first to join before the deposit limit is hit. A link to premium should pop up directly over here on the screen. Just click on that. It will lead you to the website. If it's your very first time here, feel free to subscribe. I publish these regularly. A like would be very much appreciated as well. It helps the channel grow. See you next time on YouTube, or see you in premium. Cheers.